their flavor. So
they are, but even with Guatemalan beans, there's an issue because the problem with coffee today is that some coffee is poisoned full of toxins. You know, a lot of the coffee that we drink is it's some of the most heavily chemical treated food in the world. And people don't think about that because you think about GMOs or you think of the United States, but people don't realize if coffee beans are being produced in different places, they have synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides that are that are placed all over the coffee, regardless of the country. A lot of these places are using one or more of these to really help the coffee beans grow. And it's something that isn't talked about a lot. In fact, 3% of the coffee available worldwide today is grown using organic methods, which means 97 are treated with pesticides and other chemicals. And even the organic coffee, when it's organic, it's still exposed to like fungus and mold, viruses, and all kinds of things, parasites that can go in or around the coffee beans.
And that's due to the fact that when beans are picked and they're put in bags, they're a lot of times still high levels of moisture, and they're put in bags in the dark, which means fungus can grow. And if they're not using the fungicides to kill some of the fungus that grows in the beans, then you have beans that are growing fungus if they're not treated properly. So you solve this.
Can I step in real quick?
Absolutely.
It's the Duquesne show. Let's go.
So one of the reasons this is so much worse in coffee than in other industries is that it might have been around 10 years ago now. The coffee industry almost completely fell apart. So there were multiple diseases and toxins that were killing many of the coffee variants that were out there. So to stop that, they had to move the coffee higher up in altitude, which is why altitude is really important to coffee. And then they had to start also using more pesticides to keep coffee plants cleaner, in their mind cleaner, to keep the diseases off of it. So that is why you see so few coffee beans be organic, because it doesn't happen anymore because of these diseases that killed so many coffee plants. And that's why they had to start using so much more pesticides. So even compared to normal agriculture, coffee is worse off than most other vegetables, plants, and produce.
And you're drinking it.
And you're drinking it every day.
And it's hot.
So, and another thing about heat is when you have different viruses and fungus and parasites with heat, a lot of times they will grow or they will release the poison within them, like your parasites will, or lay eggs. I mean, it's really a bad cycle. It's something I don't like to think about because I love to drink coffee, but it's something that you guys need to know so that you can educate people. And we're always talking about environmental toxins. We know that environmental toxins are a trigger that when they go in our body, they cause autoimmune disorders and diseases. They make us sick. They make us age quicker. And so this is something we've got to discuss. I always say we want to provide solutions, but let's talk about the issues first, and then we get into the solutions. The toxins that have been shown to really wreak havoc on the body and really impact the body and cause this inflammatory cascade, as well as other illnesses in the body, have to do with, first of all, the pesticides. And Duquesne brought that up, how now because of how the coffee beans were exposed in the plants to everything and they were dying, they had to really use even more than pesticides. But I want to start with pesticides because we all know that pesticides are linked to neurological disorders, developmental disorders, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, ADHD, cancer, all of those things. Because again, pesticides are really not good for the body. But yet when you put something into your mouth, especially something that's had it all around it, and then you release into the heat, your body is naturally exposed to that, and it goes into the microbiome of the stomach. It goes into neurotransmitters in the brain. So it's really important that we understand this and that we accept that we do have some solutions now that we hope will help really in this area. So when we talk about this process of cleaning the beans, I said this earlier on the RPS call, it's not just about cleaning the beans. Clayton brought up Zodid, and I said Zodid is a word I made up that means detox backwards. And the reason I did that is because The word detox is something that I've always thought was that, but mycotoxins are one of the things that are all around the coffee beans and then are used to protect it in a way, but they're not protecting it. What they're really doing is associating basically our health when we ingest those with liver damage again, kidney damage, immune system suppression, cancer, ingestions, all this stuff contributes. And that's why sometimes when people drink coffee, they'll get a headache, or they're nauseous, or they're vomiting, or they have pain. It's usually not from the bean, but it's all the things that are brought into the bean, because what people don't understand is the coating of that bean is like our skin, and our skin can be 80% bioavailable. So while that coating is trying to protect it, it's also absorbing these things into the actual coffee, and you need to have something that can go in, communicate, and kind of clean it out, just like we try to do with our own bodies.
So I was talking to someone, I think yesterday, that was mentioning that they can't drink coffee because they get a stomach ache and it really hurts their stomach. And we've had people that have been really sensitive to coffee very similarly, because it's not the coffee, it's what's in or on the coffee that actually causes that disruption. And if you remove those things, then you get the full effect of the coffee, because coffee is supposed to be what?
It's supposed to be good for you, which is our next slide that we're going to talk about. So yeah, coffee is actually good for you. If you can look at the antioxidants and you can really look at what's inside, and I talked about this earlier, when you talk about a compound and what's inside of it, and you talk about basically the ability for that to help the body, and I do this a lot when we educate, it's really important for people to understand that coffee is something that can do a lot of good things. It has a lot of antioxidants. It's bioavailable in the body. It actually has isolates and compounds in it, in the actual bean, that will help the body in a lot of ways. And I love this slide. We could go more into it because there's lots of NIH articles on this. There's articles with cancer. There's articles with actually neurological disorders, like we talked about earlier, with multiple sclerosis, with Lyme's disease. There's lots of articles that talk about how it can. But again, the problem is if you put something in your body that has these positive things, but it's full of toxins or poisons, it does the reverse. So let's focus right now, though, on what it can do and why we love it. When you guys drink coffee in the morning, or some people even drink it at night, you have these bioactive compounds inside that really can help improve brain function. It can reduce the risk of neurodegenerative disorders and really promote and support the neurotransmission of the body and the communication between the brain and the heart and the stomach.
So like chlorogenic acid.
Yep.
And trigonylene.
Yeah.
I want to hear you try to pronounce that one, because that's a different one.
Chlorogenic acid and trigonylene.
There we go.
Yeah. I was
So
practicing it earlier.
you have these really complex compounds that are not new. And we know for centuries that coffee is one of the most consumed beverages. You've got, as you mentioned, coffee, green tea, and water. That's pretty much it. And wherever you go in the world, coffee is adored because of how good it is. And, you know, it's nice to have a cup of coffee. Exactly. Because coffee in the morning gets things moving. Right?
Yeah. And people are like, well, it's the caffeine. But what people need to understand is it's increasing dopamine and norepinephrine, which are two neurotransmitters known to boost alertness and mood and physical performance. And if you really look into it, it's actually boosting even more neurotransmitters, because when it targets the dopamine and norepinephrine, that triggers serotonin and other different compounds that really help the body feel more alert and even happier, and can even calm some people down because of this effect. And a lot of people, like I said, don't understand that. But I've had people even that suffer from depression and anxiety drink coffee and it helps them. Some people can't drink a lot, like me. I can't drink tons of coffee. I'll drink it in the morning, and it definitely makes me wake up and feel better. I take Zero In, so that helps me a lot as well. But it's interesting that you guys can have this and talk about how this is also helping, again, not just Zero In, but this is helping with your neurotransmissions of the body as well. It does lower the risk of type 2 diabetes, which I think a lot of people don't understand. I don't have it on this slide deck, but most people that drink coffee on a regular basis will weigh 2 to 3 pounds less than they would if they didn't use coffee. So it does help with things like that because it reduces inflammation and it improves insulin sensitivity. So your insulin levels are working in a better way. And of course, we love this because we love the taste of coffee, and we love this about this particular product because we know that you're getting this when you're drinking the Rom Roast coffee. You're getting these different things that have lots of research behind it. Another thing that happens is it does affect positively the liver. So any of you guys that worry because you have liver diseases or different things with cirrhosis and carcinoma, different things like that, just so you know, there's been studies that show that it can provide a protective effect. We can't claim that because we're educating on the ingredients, but just know there's lots of studies on this. It also can reduce various types of cancer. In fact, in some countries, they use coffee enemas to help with liver, colon, prostate, and other types of cancer because they understand that the antioxidants help turn off that cancer tumor growth, and that the anti-inflammatory properties are so important that come along with coffee. And I would say, if you said to me, what is one of the number one things that you think helps with coffee? I would say anti-inflammation. In fact, there's lots of skincare lines that have coffee in it because of this. There's lots of other products that include coffee because of the positive effects on inflammation. Even shampoo and conditioner, they often will put that in there. And then I want to make sure I talk about this last bullet. I think it's very important. Research conducted in 2018 showed that drinking coffee on a regular basis could reduce mortality rates from all causes, including cardiovascular disease and stroke. I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people that have cardiovascular issues or stroke are told not to drink a lot of coffee. And I do believe you don't store, and now the Skin Defense, this is right up there for me. This is a wonderful formula that's put into coffee that can really help people in different areas, not just with the neurotransmitters and protective qualities that are inside, but also because it's one of the pure forms of coffee I think people will be able to have. I did use bioavailable silica that came from a zeolite, pulled it out. I was able to use different types of levels of different types of water as well, and also trace mineral complex and vitamin C. So it's not the clean slate formula, but there's different components of clean slate that I used in this that could clean out the beans and also help protect the profile for the flavor. And also, of course, I continue to want to increase preventative care, wellness, and health. That's always something that I want to do. So by doing your vitamin C, many of you guys have heard me talk about this. Trace minerals and vitamin C are like catalysts that can really help things that are positive be even more positive and get rid of things that shouldn't be in our bodies or in the items that I'm working with. I want to point out at the very bottom, I think this is an important part. In one study, maize was treated with nanosilica for screening for resistance against phytopathogens such as Ospiphorum and Aspergillus. And these are really horrible pathogens, you guys. They will really hurt people or kill people if they get into your body. In this study, the results showed significant higher resistance to maize treated with nanosilica in bulk. So it really helped. And the nanoparticles, were used then to treat for fungus with other plants. So if you look at that study and you read it in the whole study, it shows how because they were able to do this, they were able to treat fungus, not just in this particular kind of plant, but all over in different plants to really help with phytopathogens. And that's really important. And I want you guys to know this. I say this all the time. Fungus is a major issue. I was worried about fungus when COVID hit. I was extremely concerned because when viruses and bacteria grow, fungus grows too. So you've got to be extremely careful. And this is something we're seeing more and more throughout our world, which is why it was extremely important to be able to treat these beans in this format.
So if somebody wanted to kick up the coffee, they could use a couple of additives too, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could do Give Me Back My Youth, and
Take it out of Look Clean Slate, good too.
They
Kick
could
it
add-
up a notch.
they could. They absolutely could. So I want to tell you guys, I really, when you guys talk and do talking points on this coffee, I really want you to bring in certain facts like this. And again, I'm going to work on copyrights on tags so that you all will be able to hand those out and explain the process that's being used in these particular coffee beans.
Now we get to the fun stuff,
Now we get to Duquesne stuff.
which we will pull Duquesne Rom Cook to discuss
Hey, everybody.
the flavor profile.
This is my, so anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Duquesne Rom Cook. So Rom Roast, I have a special attachment to. And I guess I'm the family coffee expert because I drink it constantly, which is really all that made me the expert, I think. But there is, along with all the science that Dr. Rom does, which is amazing and really changes this coffee bean and the drink you drink once you brew it, the beans specifically are also special. So it's important to go over that. So the flavor profile, the beans are from Guatemala, specifically a region in the Jujuy region. So we get to say that we're a single source coffee, which means we're getting our coffee beans from one area. We're not getting multiple regions, Guatemala, Colombia, all these other places, and putting the beans together. We're getting it from one area and multiple farms in that area. So when you're talking about coffee, that is really important, and that's rare. That doesn't happen very often. So in this region, this is known for having low acidity already, low to moderate, which using the solution that Dr. Rom has, that acidity gets even lower, which we're going to talk about a little later on. And this is why Clayton actually can drink this, and he doesn't hate the taste, because Clayton will say he's not a huge coffee person, but he likes Rom Roast. He's nodding for anyone that can't see him. Yeah. But you have low acidity. It's known to be a full-bodied. And then the aroma, and Clayton talked about this a little bit earlier, but aroma and flavor are two different things. Aroma is the smell you get, where flavor is more the sip. When you take a sip, what you get on your lips and your tongue as you're drinking it. So the aroma is known to be pretty floral. So kind of flowers. Some people will say kind of berry. The flavor, so the taste, is known to be chocolatey, nutty, earthy, or to have caramel taste. So
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just backwards, because I can taste the citrus aspect and I can smell the nutty caramel overtone. So maybe I'm just bipolar.
you're mixed up, Clayton. They flip your nose and tongue are doing opposite things there. But part of that, and we'll go to the next slide, which okay, so the slide I added in is not here. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick.
Put in a sleeper slide.
Yeah.
I added in a slide. So
Oh, the uniqueness slide.
the uniqueness slide, yes.
Oh, I see
You
it.
want me to stop sharing my screen, Duquesne?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you stop sharing, and then I will try to share real quick.
I have it here.
Or do you have it, Clayton, and you can, or do you?
Oh, I only have it on paper on my note.
So ours is at 1,700 meters, which makes it really impressive. It's a Guatemalan, 100%, which means we're not mixing it with any other areas. It is fully washed. So again, that washing process, some coffee beans aren't washed at all. Some are half washed or partially washed. We are fully washed, on top of having Dr. Rom's solution and her technology is sprayed on this as well. So there's two washing processes for this. One's a washing, the other is more of a deeper clean. It's more than just a wash, actually, with Dr. Rom's technology. The roast is a medium roast, so it's not quite light or dark. It's a very balanced flavor, and the body is balanced as well. So with the body, sometimes you'll drink coffee and it's really heavy on the tongue. Sometimes you drink it and it's really light on the tongue. This will kind of be in the middle.
And you can see today that, I'll interrupt you real quick, that Dr.
You're good.
Rom is wearing a medium roast outfit. Not too light, not too dark. And you are definitely full-bodied.
Okay.
Proceed.
So Clayton might want to talk here, but this is where we get to how this coffee is unique. So the flavor and aroma go above and beyond what normal coffee is, because when that solution is cleansed on or sprayed on all the beans and cleans them, it gets the acidity basically close to zero. And then the mycotoxins are close to zero. So when that happens, it allows the full flavor to come out. So Clayton noticed this the first time he had it. You take a sip and it doesn't leave this awful aftertaste, and it doesn't like burn your mouth at all.
It actually explodes. You get this, the flavor just explodes in your mouth, which is really interesting, because if anybody drinks coffee, we know of the bitterness, and I mentioned this earlier. But if you ask people who drink coffee and you ask people who don't like drinking coffee, they'll say, I don't like the bitterness, or they'll say, I don't like it because it makes my stomach feel bad or whatnot, which we just hit on. But the bitterness is something that it usually overpowers the flavor of the coffee. And if you go to some of the popular coffee shops, and I won't mention Starbucks by name, but they basically produce charcoal, right? They destroy the beans. And so you have nothing but real bitterness. You don't get the true flavor of the beans that you're paying for. This process, and it's a couple fold. One, it's the source of the beans. Two, it's the coffee roaster that we're using to roast these beans. He is an award-winning, renowned coffee roaster, and because of his global relationships and being an awarded coffee roaster, he's able to get stuff very, very quickly. And as Duquesne mentioned, these beans are sourced in one specific region because of the relationship. They're organic, they're local, they're the highest quality you can get. He gets them very, very quickly, which means that from the time that they're picked and the time that they're washed and they're sent over, from the time that they're roasted, at the time that they're treated and they're put in a bag and ready to be delivered to a warehouse, is about 2 weeks. This is unlike anything you've ever had your hands on. And if you get a chance to taste this the first time, this is one thing that you'll actually want to do with people, whether you do a video, you do a TikTok, you do a live. You've seen this in so many commercials in the past, at least when I was growing up, where they'd have a coffee taste test, right? And they invite people in and they gave them UBAN and they gave them Folgers crystals or whatever, and they had them taste the coffee, and you get that first response. This is something that you are actually going to want to get from people on video, because that first taste, we got this from our master roaster when he tried it the first time. I actually got it on video. He's like, oh, this is good. Like, if the master roaster says it's good, we're on it. But this is, if you like coffee and if you don't like coffee, this is an experience unlike anything you've ever had before. And most importantly, it's because it's ROM roast. Oh.
So a few points to go on this, and Clayton brought this up. The Jujuy region in Guatemala is known for being fair trade, which means they use good, fair practices, usually with the farmers. And it's known for being often seen as organic beans. We don't have the organic certification right now, and there's a reason for that. Organic certifications don't say that there's no mycotoxins. So those toxins are the mold that often gets in the coffees afterwards when they're kept in bags. So being organic certified doesn't do anything. That doesn't mean they don't have those toxins. So what we have instead is we have a toxin-free report that we are working on getting. It's in Arabic right now, so we have to get it translated so everyone can read it. But that is the certification that we currently have. So that is why some people asked already, and I've got it twice from emails about the organic certification. And that isn't something that we have. The region is known for being organic, but we don't have that certification because that doesn't actually show and prove that the beans are as clean as ours are.
So let's hit on that a little bit. Tiger, can you pull up the deck again?
Yeah, and this is the second thing we have to show.
Oh, we have a score higher than my IQ and GPA.
Do you want to talk about this, Clayton, or do you want me?
Oh, this is all you, baby, because you brought this up. See, coffee people know these things, and we were talking about how amazing this coffee was. And then Duquesne a couple weeks ago was like, well, we need a cup score. I'm like, what's a cup score? What is a cup score?
So a cup score is to show basically how your coffee is seen in the coffee industry. So anything above a 70 is impressive. If you're below a 70, that's usually what you're buying at grocery stores. That's usually beans that are already ground up. So they're not whole beans, they're ground. They are very bitter, a lot of acidity, and they don't source them from good regions. 70 to 80 is usually what you'll see in coffee stores. And then above an 80 is known as a specialty coffee. So to get this score, you have to have people who are certified to do this. Usually they're roasters, and they look at where the beans come from, the beans during the roasting process, and then the flavor afterwards. So once it's actually in a cup, and they score it on a scorecard. So if you're over an 80, you can say you're a specialty coffee. So that is what ROM Roast also has, is this cup score, which is a certificate you have to get. So mixed with this cup score and then our toxin-free report, that again, that will be posted once we have that translated. The report has to be notarized in every language that it's translated in because it's so official. So that's why it's taking us a little bit more time to get it. We have it notarized in Turkey, so in Arabic, but we have to get it in the other languages. But again, the toxin-free report and then the cup score that shows we're 84 is where we see that ROM Roast is a step above other coffees. And those are the two things that, again, first, the toxin report, extremely proud of because that shows it's healthy for you. And then the cup score shows that the coffee community sees this as a special coffee.
And these are important because there are coffees that claim to be toxin free that actually won't provide or don't provide a report showing that they're mycotoxin free and that they've actually been tested, but they promote it as such. And none of those brands have a cup score as high as this. This is literally in a class of its own, which is why it is called ROM Roast. Because we knew this going in, that if we put her name on it, it would be outstanding. But then Duquesne realized it was his name too and said, wait a minute, this is my coffee and it will be tremendous.
It really tastes amazing. I'm so excited for you guys to taste it. And I'm really excited for the opportunity for you guys to bring this in to coffee shops and have them carry it, or grocery stores or clinics, because it does have this extra health wellness perspective where we're trying to clean it out, and we were able to, and then support again, because remember, it's about basically cleaning it out and then supporting and creating barricades so that this is something that's positive for the body and not negative. And again, it's you guys do relive greens and you understand the benefit, but I really want everyone to understand the benefit you can get from this coffee. Duquesne's right. Clayton doesn't love coffee. I do love coffee. I can tell you this is my favorite. I can also tell you that Clay does drink this. But,
I love it.
But despite the taste, because that's important, but let's take that out of it. It is a coffee that's different than anything else you guys will have been exposed to. No one else has done this process. They don't have the formula that I created, and so they can't duplicate it. So it's exciting that we have this to offer and that you guys have the opportunity to have people in your homes or to go to different events and serve ROM Roast and start talking about it and the benefits. And then you can get into the rest of the root products and what this company is doing for people and for animals and for the environment, really trying to give back to the world what we think the world needs and what we know we need as solutions. Because again, we are about solutions. And I want to tell the root community this. Life is always going to be difficult. There's always going to be chaos. There's always going to be things that are negative. But if you can support your bodies and support your lives and support others, we can continue to have good things happen too and create a really balanced life where we're serving the world. So this world is a greater place. And I always say this, we don't want to live in fear. We should live in hope and we should live in positive light. And our hope is this will give another experience to each person in the Root community and the people that you touch to do something positive and to have even more amazing things go into your body. I got a little bit into the weight loss with coffee. I didn't get into the anti-aging aspects of coffee, but I will say really briefly that there's studies as well that show that coffee beans have anti-aging properties and longevity. And that's why they put them again in skincare and different things. So I want you guys to know there's lots of things you can do with this coffee. There's lots of benefits of this, not just for you, but for people around you. And it's exciting that we have the opportunity to bring this to the community.
So coffee grounds.
Can people buy this, by the way, or just RPS?
Nope, it's available right now, I think.
Oh, that's good.
If
Okay.
not, it'll be available like really quickly. But
Okay.
the coffee grounds are not something you should just throw in the garbage can. You should throw them if you have a garden. You
Yep.
can throw them in your garden because they will feed your plants and your plants will become almost ramenetic. But also, if you had a little sea salt, maybe that you used in your bath or your shower, and you combine that with a little bit of the coffee grounds, you could do a coffee scrub on your skin, which is phenomenal for your skin, right?
Yes, it's absolutely phenomenal for the skin. And I'm sorry, you guys, I just got back from Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. So I'm trying to catch up on everything while I'm doing these calls. But yeah, absolutely. And I got to tell you guys, I was in Saudi Arabia and we were presenting the CTC line to the hospital. And down in the hospital, they have a franchise in all the hospital of coffee. So we got into this discussion and the CEO of the hospital was extremely interested in the coffee so that they could put it into the hospital branches. He loved the fact, he understood there was fungus and mold in coffee beans. He loved the fact that this had vitamins and minerals that went through the cleaning process that were basically infused into the coffee and surrounding the coffee bean. And so it's an exciting place that we can bring this into, again, not just people you meet, not just people in your home that you serve coffee to, but also into different places that could carry this in bulk and really give this to the coffee drinking community as something very special. It not only has a specialty score of 84, but it has something in it that other specialty coffees don't have. And so this is an extremely great tool to help people day to day with something that they absolutely love, and then to help this community grow for the future.
You can use this as like the most amazing fundraiser because of our approach to business. You know, you have, well, in the United States, we have high school sports or you have kids sports, and they're always serving coffee at events. If they start serving rom roast, they're going to buy the bags to serve as rom roast, but people are going to be able to order it, pay $5-6 for a cup of coffee, whatever they charge. But they should also have a card that has a QR code on it, because I guarantee you when people drink this coffee at an event, they're going to go, oh my God, how do I get this at home? They can say, here's a QR code, scan it, they'll ship it to your house, and it's actually benefiting the school or the nonprofit organization as well.
So
Outstanding.
we're going to do all kinds of things with this coffee. We are going to be giving back through the ROM Foundation with the coffee. We're trying to figure out exactly what amount we'll give. We'll be supporting other foundations, like Clay said. And then we are looking at wholesale bulk pricing, maybe even through the CTC line, because it does have health benefits. So we think this is something that we could run through that particular line. We're looking at that right now, but our first phase to do this is to launch it in Europe. It is coming to the United States and Australia and all your other countries within the next 3 to 4 weeks. But we wanted to go ahead and get this out there so you guys could start experiencing this amazing coffee that could help you guys day to day.
If you're an RPS member in Europe, you actually can get it right now. And if you're in America, it's going to take a couple weeks because it's on a boat, but it's almost here. But if you're in
Yeah.
Europe, anywhere in Europe,
But just to clarify, it's only on the EU German website. So if you are, I've seen some people in the chat, if you are looking to buy it in the US website, it won't show up. So it's only showing up on the German website. So anybody that's in Europe and you want to buy it from the German website, you can do that.
And if you sprechen Sie Deutsch, you know that coffee in German is coffee.
And then someone else asked this, we're only selling it, it's in 3 bags. So you buy it in 3. We're not going to sell single bags. It's always going to be in 3 bags when you buy it. And then
And they're
last,
larger bags. Did you explain that, Duquesne?
500-gram
No.
bags.
so most bags, anyone that drinks coffee knows that most bags are 350 grams, sometimes smaller. Ours are 500 grams, which means the bags are bigger than normal coffee bags. So when you are looking at the price, I want people to remember 2 things. 1, you are getting a bigger bag. And 2, this is the only coffee brand that has the technology that Dr. Rahm has created and is cleaning the coffee beans this way. But we've had a lot of questions about that. The bags are 500 grams, so you're not buying normal coffee bag sizes.
These bags are so big, you can, when you get 3 of them, you can hold one in each hand and do curls, and you will get an amazing workout as you use the 3rd bag to make your coffee that you take with your Zero N and your Give Me Back My Youth to feel amazing when you're doing the curls.
And so these are whole beans as well. I just saw that question. So it's whole beans. We don't sell it already ground because ground coffee doesn't last as long. So we sell whole beans so that it is lasting longer. So it will usually, normal whole bean coffee lasts up to 6 months, but with this process where it is cleaned further, you'll usually get longer than 6 months out of it. The bag won't last that long because you'll want to drink it every day, but technically it lasts over 6 months.
So speak to this a little bit, because whole beans provides the opportunity for a cafe aficionado to pick the grind that they want so you can have your beverage the way that you want it. And I actually got feedback from a gentleman that I met. He does sales for a company that I was at, and I gave him a bag, and he gave me some feedback a couple of days ago. He's like, look, this coffee is the best I've ever had. And he's like, Duquesne, just coffee freak. And he's like, this coffee as a pour over is exceptional. And that's how he loves to do the pour over. So talk a little bit about the difference of why the whole bean is important to give people an opportunity to pick their grind.
So whole beans, coffee is ground at different methods. So if you are doing a normal drip coffee, like a coffee machine, if you're doing an espresso, if you're doing pour over or French press, I could list 10 different ways, but each way has a different grind that you need. So by doing whole beans, we allow you to pick how you want your coffee. So you can drink it as an espresso and you'll grind it that way, or you could put it in a normal coffee maker and you'll grind it that way. I do French press, so I grind it for French press level. Clayton actually just gave me a new coffee machine that lets me do drip coffee or espresso. So I'm going to be trying that out more, but whatever way you like your coffee, it lets you grind it that way. Again, I've seen another comment that is asking what's special about this coffee other than the cleaning process. And again, with that cleaning process is where you get the low acidity, better taste, and better health benefits. So I just want to remind everybody that it's not just being washed in a better detox or zoded process. I'll use the wording right. With that zoded process, you're getting a lot of health benefits from it as well. So,
Yeah, there's vitamins and minerals and different things that are part of that process. So while you're cleaning, again, we use the word zoded because detox, like I said, I think it's backwards. Zoded means you're cleaning and supporting and putting vitamins and minerals into what you're doing, which is why I think detox is done incorrectly and why countries like Germany don't like to use the word, because it can rip things apart and destroy it. But if you can infuse things at the same time that are supporting the body, it's positive. And that's what I did in this process for the beans. I'm cleaning and supporting with vitamins and minerals through the process that are putting into the beans. And so that's what you need to understand. It's a multi-process that goes into the formula and then goes into the beans while they're before the roasting process. So it's extremely important to be able to do that. We're not putting vitamins and minerals on the packaging. Instead, we will have the copyrights that explain the process, and I will mention the vitamins and minerals that are part of this Zoded cleaning process.
And what makes it different? It is freaking outstanding to drink. That's the difference.
So we are anticipating, and we already have had a very high sales rate on this coffee. And we think once everyone tries it, you guys will see even more. But again, our hope is that we're able to get this coffee out to as many people as possible. So instead of people drinking coffee that could hurt them, they're drinking coffee infused with positive things to help their body while they drink it.
But what is it really infused with?
The Zoded process
Greatness.
and greatness. That's right.
And I saw another question, and I think a couple people liked it, and they asked if we would do K-cups or Keurig cups. And I just want to speak to that a little bit. When you get Keurig cups, the beans are pre-ground, so they don't keep as well and they don't keep its flavor. So that is not something we're going to do at this moment. But a solution is you can get Keurig cups that you can reuse. You can grind up the beans and then put it in those cups. So if you do have a Keurig, you can buy reusable ones, grind up your beans yourself, and then put it in that so you can use your Keurig machine or whatever K-cup machine you have.
And as a wise man once said to that, booyah, Stuart.
All right. I have a call.
I
now.
have to go
Sorry.
to the bank.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the call. The last one had some NIH links that talk about research with the coffee. Tiger, can you go back real quick? So you can see some of them. There's tons of articles, so we will do more later, but I wanted to get some of these out to you guys so you could see some of the research that's been done around coffee beans. And then we will produce even more with the silica and even do our own research. So thank you everyone to the Root community. We're excited you guys get to try this, and very thankful for everyone in this community. So thank you again.